Yes, we are back here, folks, for the post-episode recap of the Game of Thrones Season 1, Episode 1. Winter is coming, and we're living in the northeast here of the United States, so winter is certainly coming big time in earnest around here.
Winter is here, my man.
Yeah, we're going through winter.
More snow in the last week and a half than any other season ever.
And it's supposed to, just for our benefit around here, it's supposed to snow for the next 3 days. It's really, the White Walkers are marching on us. It's a horrible situation, folks. But
if I was still skiing 20 years ago, this would be a great thing, but I haven't skied in a long time.
Welcome back to the Game of Thrones recaps. This is something that we've wanted to do for a while. We're setting on a mission, Joe. We're going on an adventure. We're going to go on an adventure and recap every single Game of Thrones
30-hour adventure.
Yes, we're going to do a recap and rewatch the entire series. We don't need excuses to rewatch, but this is a really awesome excuse to rewatch the series.
Yeah, it is. It doesn't get much better.
So we're going to pretend this is our first time seeing these episodes. We're going to go back. If you haven't checked us out before for the Game of Thrones standpoint, we started off doing recaps of Season 4. We finished all of Season 4. But we had both of us had watched the entire series. So more than any other show, we recap. And this is a channel for recap podcasts and stuff like that. If you haven't checked us out before, please hit that subscribe button. We'd really appreciate it. And if you have anything to say about the first episode of Game of Thrones, please share it away in the comment section. Please be mildly respectful of spoilers, add spoiler warnings for anything future to come, because people might be listening to these podcasts for the first time after watching the episode. So we're going to try to be as respectful to those.
And sometimes before the episodes, too. So.
Ren Redwood, hi, how's it going? Ren,
hey, Ren.
I have a couple of things to say to you. First of all, sorry that we didn't come the last couple of days. As I mentioned in the message, I had a little bit of a family issue. And the time you watching me do the Game of Thrones video game playthrough, you were the only time you're going to get a chance to watch that, because somehow the video magically turned from a 2-hour video to a 22-hour video. So I had to take it down. Joe, for whatever reason, I can suddenly hear myself. It's weird. But anyways, folks, we've been wanting to recap. It's better now. We've been wanting to recap the Game of Thrones from the beginning for a while here. So we're excited to get into this and really look at things back from the beginning and see how it all started, see how the series all started anyways. So
what a start to a series, too.
Now, Joe, actually, could you turn me down a little bit? I'm in definite echo right now. Definite echo. So, Joe, you watched the series before I did. You watched this first season before you read the books, right?
Correct.
Okay, so you didn't have to deal with some of the issues of noticing some mild differences between Season 1 and the books initially when you watched the series.
Correct. I didn't even know, when I started watching the series, I didn't even know it was books. That's how clueless I was. And I always fancied myself a fantasy buff in some respects. Even though I'm not a reader and never was really a reader, I always figured I knew enough about fantasy books through listening to friends and brothers and stuff talk about that sort of thing. You know, play D&D, Magic, you know.
I'm kind of surprised that of all of our geeky friends like that, or all of our friends that are into the D&D and all that stuff, that none of them really were into Game of Thrones.
Right, none of them. I don't know. I think I know they've probably read them, like, you know, Martin, Elia, some people. I think they might have read them, or a book or two of them when they were reading. Maybe Devin. I'm not sure, but I don't remember any of them ever being like, you gotta read these books. They're unbelievable.
Yeah, I don't either. And in fact, when we mentioned this to a friend of ours, Devin, who's probably one of the bigger readers of our group of friends, when it comes to fantasy and things that, one of those people that if you looked up a person you would think would be into Game of Thrones, he's also, I don't think he's into it out of spite. I think he's...
Yeah, it kind of feels like that too. Like he's on that, it's J.R.R. Tolkien.
Yeah.
Or J.R.R. Martin. He's trying to copy him even with his name.
Yeah, look at him. He's even has a name trying to copy Tolkien.
That's what,
and then there's zombies.
That's I guess that's what I gotta say is what most people's first issue with Game of Thrones is they want to say, oh, isn't it just like a bad Lord of the Rings, and it's nothing. It's not even a good Lord. It's nothing to do. Like they're like such in complete different genres of fantasy, even though they're both fantasy. That it's
fairness, they both have sword fighting.
They both have sword fight. I think there's dragons and something or other here or there, but
Dragons in the Hobbit story. There's dragons in that universe.
in that universe, right? But like as far as like dwarfs, in one universe are these axe wielding. Well, in both universes, I guess they're axe wielding, but like one's a real actual, dwarf or little person or whatever you want to, whatever the correct PC term is. I don't midget. I don't know. We'll just say them all. And if something offends, it offends. But and then the other one, they're these warrior creatures that mine in mountains. It's completely different.
I think the closest that say Indy, things like hey Indy. I think the closest association between Game of Thrones and Lord of the Rings comes from something Ren Redwood pointed out about the video game, where the pendant looks like the thing from Gondor. It has like similarity to the Forrester logo thing. It looks kind of like the
the HBO logo.
Yeah, it kind of looks like it a little bit. But anyways, folks, I just wanted to get, and I kind of started to watch the series initially somewhere in season 2, and then I went back. And, it was either season 2 or season 3, and I went back and did kind of like a rewatch, and then I've listened to the books on tape, as I've mentioned many times, that I don't read, that I don't know how to read. As you can tell when I try to recap things from my own writing, and I say blowback instead of horseback. But let's get into this episode, Joe. Let's get into the recap of the very first episode, Winter is Coming. And the whole episode starts off as we see 3 men in black. Not the men in black like Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones. We see the Rangers of the Wall. And
well, we don't even know that they're Rangers. We know nothing about them, just that they're 3 men gearing up some horses. They're all dressed in black leather, chest pieces, black capes, black boots, black pants. It's all black.
Yep, all black. I mean, we know, anyone who knows much about Game of Thrones after the fact, obviously know that they're Night's Watchmen, they're Rangers of the Wall. But we're going to try to, like we said, look at this from the first time we're watching this. So there's all these guys in black. The heat rises slowly as they head down the tunnel.
And there's definitely one that's in charge that is saying we're about to go out and do something.
I call him Dick Guy. That's Dick Guy. And
yeah, little Lordy.
And they come out of the other side of the wall, on the other side of this tunnel.
This tunnel is huge, by the way. It's all ice, and it's huge. It's 100 yards long easily. You can count like 10 or 15 torches. They're like 20 feet apart, 30 feet apart. Like, this tunnel is huge.
It is really.
10 men wide, can fit down it, couple horses. It's a big tunnel, and it's made of ice. It's all white. It's made of ice. There are torches burning in it, but nothing's melting. It's cold. It's winter.
Yes, and then we come on the other side, and speaking of winter, then we see the lands of ice and snow, the other side of the wall. And yes, in fact, it isn't disclosed there completely, but they are Rangers of the Wall, we are to assume at that point. Joe, could you turn me down maybe a little tiny bit more? The 3 ride on the other side of the wall, and they ride through the forest. They separate. Better. And they separate, and one, as I said, the one we end up following, seems like he's probably the most inexperienced, just from first glance, like watching them. He stops at something he sees that's suspicious, and he sees smoke, and he kind of creeps up a hill, climbs through the snow, and he looks over, and he sees dead bodies everywhere.
Pieces, not even full dead bodies, just pieces of them.
Heads on spikes. It's just a disgusting scene. It almost looks. Would you say it looked ritualistic?
It definitely did. They in like a couple seconds they pull out with this long shot, and it's he like turns around and he sees this girl, this dead girl.
These crazy eyes. And
crazy blue eyes, dead eyes.
No, they're not blue yet. You got ahead of yourself a little bit there.
Did I? They weren't blue?
Not at that point yet. I think they're green. They turn blue when we see her again. To spoil what happens in a second. When we see her again, her eyes are glowing blue. That first time, I believe, they're not quite alive. They're just very expressive. So you notice her again. So make sure when you see her a few seconds later, you really notice those eyes.
Okay.
But she's a dead redhead girl, and she's got huge anime-like eyes, as Joe pointed out. She definitely has those huge anime eyes, and she's stuck on a tree. And as Joe said, we pan out and we see all the bodies almost arranged in a circle. It's almost
when he sees her, he freaks out and he books it. He runs like hell through the snow, and that's when it pans out, and we see that all the pieces are arranged in like an odd-shaped circle with like a little squiggly tail and maybe a line of dead pieces through it or something like that.
Yeah, it was very interesting.
It definitely looked ritualistic. There was something sticking out of the ground, maybe a piece of the torso. I couldn't tell. It's just so when I watched this both the first time and this time, I gotta say, even though I know what to expect through the whole series, when I watched it the first time, this is not something I expected. Again, the only reason why I got HBO in the first place was to watch this series, and the only reason why I wanted to watch it was because of the guy that plays King Baratheon and the guy that plays Eddard Stark.
Those two, especially wanting to see Eddard Stark. I mean, I love that. I love that actor. Sean Bean. Sean Bean.
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Bean. And what's Baratheon's name?
I can never remember his name, but he's in a sitcom I loved also. He had his own Still Standing or something like that. And he was in the Full Monty, and he was in Knight's Tale.
Ledger movie Knight's Tale. That's what I most know him from.
And he was in the remake of Heaven Can Wait with Chris Rock, the butler. Yep.
So after our ritualistic scene, we flash over to back to the three guys, and we see Dick Guy who's saying, "What do you expect? They're savages. Like one man will kill another man for a goat. It must have been the wildlings." Asshat guy says. And the one guy who saw everything said, he's never seen a wildling do something like this. In fact, he's never seen anything like this.
We need to get out of here.
Yeah, Dick Guy says, how close did you get? He says, close as any man would get. And then the third guy, bearded guy, says, maybe we should leave.
Yeah. We were here to scout the Rangers, to range the wildlings. We did that. Let's get the hell out of here.
And Dick Guy's like, what, are you afraid of the dead? You know what my response would be? You're damn fucking right, I'm afraid of the dead.
It's not the dead I'm afraid of. It's whatever made all those people dead that I'd be afraid of. The little lordling though, he's like, we're gonna keep going. We're gonna go check this out. They all jump on their horses or grab the reins, and they start moving towards the direction that Weasley boy said that they were.
Yeah, and before that, the guy says they killed the children, and he says, good thing we're not children. You can run south and try to escape if you want, but they'll behead you if I don't get you first. Get the fuck back on your horse. Yep. You're venturing on. And two things from Ren Renwood. She says, this is the first time we see a child as a white. I'm not sure if this is in the books. In the whole preface of the books, it's a much longer section. We learn a lot more about who these guys are in the beginning of the first book. I can't remember if we see the child white, but we do get a lot more detail of who.
No, it's a little different. It's still the three guys. They don't all kind of go back. He sends Weasley boy up a tree to get a look out to see what else is around, and Weasley boy doesn't come out of the tree. Right. But in this, they all kind of stay together. They go up to check out where the dead pieces are, and when they get there and they come over the crest where he saw them, there's nothing. The snow is crisp and clean. There's almost like no trace, no blood, no pieces of body, no dead girl, no thingy sticking out of the ground. And yeah, douchebag lordling's like, I guess you're dead, didn't want to stick around. I guess dead men decided to leave camp.
Ren Renwood also adds that King Baratheon's name is Mark Addy.
Addy? Adkins? Addy?
Addy, A-D-D-Y.
Yeah, Addy. I love that guy. I love him in almost everything he's done, and I should know his name.
So as they venture onward, the asshat guy leads the way to the spot where the scared guy saw all the dead bodies, and all the dead men are gone. And he's like, they're all gone. And so like smart assholes that have seen horror movies. Sorry, Joe, I keep having to ask. Turn me down a little bit more. I'm echoing again. They look around and they split up as the mood becomes kind of eerie, not the eerie, just it becomes kind of eerie. As one of the guy finds something, and our scared guy finds something, and we look and we see in the distance, and this is when it happens, coming out of nowhere, this white, spooky figure with intense glowing eyes that almost is moving ninja-like, and grabs this guy, and we hear the Dick guy, and we just hear a slice as he's being killed. It is freaking scary as shit. It grabbed me this time. I was like, holy fuck! Like even
then the other two guys just take off running. They don't stick around to try to defend them. They're just out of there. Boom!
But before that, the horses run, and our scared guy turns around, and this is where we see the dead girl again, and we get a quick jump scare of the dead girl's evil blue eyes glowing, and then the two guys go off and they run as fast as they can. But you can tell when they're running away that whatever that thing was, it's stalking them. You can almost see it moving with them in the darkness. Kind of like a smoke monster in Lost a little bit. Like you can just feel the smoke following them. And they're stalking. They run out of breath and they stop and look at each other.
And they're a distance away from each other too. They can. It's almost when you see them running, you figure they're running in different directions almost, but they're kind of just running parallel, but 20 or 30 yards apart.
Yep. And then the blue thing or the white thing catches up to them and grabs the guy with the beard and just slices his fucking head right off. And throws his head at the other dude's feet.
He smiles at him almost and just chucks his head down the pathway towards the other guy.
And then he did the Batman thing. He walked up to him, and we didn't see what happened, but we get a close-up of the scared guy's face, and then it just cuts. But I
don't think he walks up to him. I think he just threw the thing and then left. Like, go tell your story. Like, I killed enough of you. Leave one alive to tell the story. I don't remember what that's from, but
he didn't grab him and go, "I'm Batman. Tell your friends. I'm Batman," like Michael Keaton. That's what it felt like I wanted to do. So, and then after that point, as we fade out on our scared guy's face, that's when we get our first opening theme song, the Game of Thrones theme song. And we mentioned this a lot on the IMAX thing. The intro of Game of Thrones is almost as cool, like especially the first couple of times you see it, is almost as cool as the show itself. The setup looking like a giant mousetrap board game at times, whatever those things are called. It's just pretty damn neat.
Yeah, I like it.
So when we come back in after our theme, we see green hills with several soldiers riding towards the guy from the start, who's alive and's been walking. God knows how long he's been walking. He's probably been walking. The gods only know how long he's been walking. He's probably been walking for.
Well, he's not in snow-covered land anymore. We see that.
No, exactly. He's in green. It's straight up green. And we see the riders catching up to him as we see one rider riding towards a castle, and we see the crawl on the screen, the graphic come up, Winterfell, as a rider approaches it. We cut right there to a kid, Bran, with a bow and arrow. And
Winterfell's pretty impressive looking too. It's one of the few times we actually get to see a good shot of it throughout the whole series. I know So if you want to get a good look at it, this is the episode and one of the shots that you're going to want to pause your screen on, because there's not too many other wide shots of Winterfell.
I would say, not to talk about too much later, there's a later point in time in the series, this isn't really spoiling anything, that somebody makes either sandcastle or something, maybe not a sandcastle, some sort of model of Winterfell you see later, which is probably the second best example of being able to see it as a whole. But,
right, and it's pretty big. It's not just a castle, it's a city that is it's supposed to be the biggest city in the north that we know, and it's supposed to be able to produce 25,000 fighting men at like a drop of a hat.
It's fair to say that it's the biggest place in the biggest location in the north, and the north is the biggest of all of the Seven Kingdoms. So that's saying a lot. That right. It's the biggest in the biggest. So
and it's pretty impressive looking. Take a look at it when you get a chance. Pause your DVR or your on demand or your DVDs, and soak it in, because it's pretty impressive. I think HBO did a good job kind of displaying what Winterfell should look like.
Absolutely.
I had a different opinion reading the books of how it should have looked, and I read the books afterwards, but it still does a great job. It's very pretty looking.
Mm-hmm. So after this, when we go inside, we cut to Bran with the bow and arrow, and he's shooting, and he misses wide left or wide right and off target. And this is where we also meet Jon Snow, and Jon Snow, almost to comfort and fuck with him at the same time, grabs him and says, "Go on, father's watching, and your mother." And next to him, Rob's kind of giggling a little bit too, and this is where we first meet Theon, and Rickon's also there watching. Then we cut to the Sansa and Arya scene of them sewing, and the Handmaiden going, "Oh, Sansa, you're always so perfect. Oh,
Arya can't stand being there. She just can't wait to get out of there."
And then we pan over to Arya, and she's just sitting there like, "Oh my fucking god, I suck at this." But then we cut back to Bran again, missing the target and everyone laughing at them. Even Rickon's laughing at him. And this is the first time we hear Ned Stark say anything. And he says, "Which one of you were a marksman at 10? Keep working at it." So
Yep.
John, this time, actually helping, not fucking and helping. He wholeheartedly says, "Now don't think too much." Rob turns to him and goes, "Relax," and they help him, and he's actually aiming. It looks like he might hit the target.
And this whole time, when we were inside seeing Arya, she could hear the roar of everything going on outside, the archery going on. She was looking at the window longingly.
And then from a much more difficult angle, perfect
And distance.
bullseye. Yeah, and distance. Perfect bullseye. Arya from the distance shoot and hits it, embarrassing him. Completely embarrassing.
And she does embarrass him because she's a girl, but she is a little older, so she has had more time and practice with a bow as well. So it shouldn't be that embarrassing, but it is. Everybody's watching, and she bullseyes, and he's missing the target completely.
I don't even think it's just because she's a girl. I think it's also she's the type of person that likes fucking with people as well. She has a little bit of that in her. That even if it wasn't she just wants to. She doesn't just want to beat the boys. She wants to beat everybody. You know, she do the same thing to any of them. You know. So.
Well, no, I don't think she would do the same thing to any of them. I think that she's also maybe she feels like her place is above Bran because she's older than Bran.
No,
a tick older than him. So.
I agree with that because we never see her show that kind of disrespect to Jon or Rob at any point.
Correct. She only looks up to her, except Sansa. She can't stand Sansa because Sansa can't stand her.
Because no one can, you know, everyone Sansa's star in a sitcom called Everyone Hates Sansa.
Oh God, I want to hear from the fans out there who like Sansa. We never hear we never get too much leave the girl alone.
Okay, this is a slippery slope because I was about to say something from later on. So let's move on here.
Let's move on.
We'll get to it. So as someone comes over at this point, over to Ned, they say that they found a deserter of the Night's Watch. Kat says, "Come on, Ned, you have to do this." And Ned says it's the law, and Bran is coming too. "Oh, come on, Ned, he's only
Isn't he
10.
young?
He's only 10, she says. And Ned says, "He won't be a boy forever, and this is our first one, guys. And
winter is coming."
And this is what Ren Renwood was just talking about. A shot of Kat after that, looking kind of haunted for a second. And then we get, as evil as someone can look at someone, as bitch eyes as someone
Jon Snow looking up from the ground.
Kat just looks at him like Margot El-Harazi looking at Jack Bauer.
Oh God, you just did it.
I just did it. And no, but she just gives him the biggest Death Star I've ever seen anywhere, anytime. And Jon feels it, and he walks off. So then we cut over to and there's no mistaking what their relationship is after that. And
well, you still don't know, but you know that it's not a good one.
No, you know it's not a good one. So as we see the man from the beginning being marched in front of all the Stark boys, well, but Rickon, and also Theon is there as well. The man starts kind of mumbling, I've seen them, and then he says, "I could have gone back and warned them, but I panicked." He knows he's a deserter and an oath breaker, but he saw the White Walkers, he saw them, and he asked to get word to his family, tell him he's sorry.
Yeah, he says at least I don't care if you kill me. I'm a traitor. I understand that I broke my oath. You can kill me, but please, you at least go warn my family. Tell them what I saw. Tell them I'm not crazy.
Yeah. And yes, to go back for a second, Renwood, Michelle Fairley, I believe I'm pronouncing her name right. I probably am not, but she is an amazing actress. And I was joking about 24 Live Another Day. What makes that show good, and watchable is the scenes that she was in the first half. She raises the stakes. She's one of those actresses that when she gets in there and she says line reads, she raises the stake of the scene. There was no better casting for Catelyn Stark than this woman. And I know she wasn't the original person that they had cast. I believe
Who did they have cast, or offhand?
You can look at it on IMDb. I can look up that information. But it was someone else I believe they shot the pilot with, and then they had to reshoot the Catelyn Stark scene. She didn't cast that well.
Well, they did. They cast. I think for every actor they've cast so far, with the exception, the mountains changed a few times.
Mountains, the mountain. Oh, okay, yeah.
I liked the original, but the last one
is the best.
By the time it was over, he ends up being the best.
Yeah, be careful. So So Ned, the man said Ned doesn't look too happy, and he picks up the sword. Takes out his giant sword, Ice, and John tells
This
Bran.
this sword isn't just giant. This sword, he's standing there for a minute with his sword, and as he's standing there, he's holding the top of the sword right about here at his chest. It's chest height. The blade is a good 4.5 feet.
It's huge. It makes Mel Gibson's Braveheart sword look tiny.
Tiny. This is a big bastard sword. This is a two-handed bastard sword with its own name, Ice. It's got its own zip code. You know, it's got enough room to notch off every Jew that died in the Holocaust on it.
Aw, it is.
Oh.
You went there.
I did go there because it's a huge-ass sword. Like, that's the scope. I don't mean any disrespect, but
We're both
there's a
Jews.
lot.
We're both Jews. There's no disrespect. It is huge though. And John tells Bran not to look away, that Father will know. And it's also made of Valyrian steel. Just as a point of reference. Ned gives his speech. I in the name of Robert, the King of the Andals, first man, yada yada yada. As Bran watches him slice his head off, execute him. John says,
Bran doesn't turn away. John warns him not to. Don't turn away. Sean will know.
"Yep." And
I'll know. Eddard.
Sean will know. The Bean will know.
The Bean will know.
Yo, welcome to the show, Ghetto Toad. Ned takes Bran aside and he talks to him about understanding why he did it. He says, Bran, do you understand why I did it? Bran says, yes, because he was a deserter. John told me. He says, no, do you understand why? And then Bran, showing the wise ass in him, almost showing the Catelyn in him, responds, why? Because the old way is our way. And the way he says it too is such a little cocksucker, like almost like he's making fun of his father a little bit. What? Old way is the new way?
Well, it's a little bit, but
he's also
it's also a good answer. It's a good answer too because it's true. But he doesn't know what his dad's getting at.
No, but he also has something else on his mind.
Yes.
Because the real question he's caring about, the only thing Bran gives a shit about in this moment, really, when it comes down to it, he says, "Did this guy really see the White Walkers?" Yep. And Ned says,
"Old man stories."
Yeah, old man stories. And Ned says they've been dead for thousands of years. And Bran calls him on it, looks at him right in the eye, and says, "So he was lying?" Just with this look, I don't think, Bran was telling Ned, I don't think this man was lying. And Ned's response is, "Mad men see what they want to see." But Bran did not look convinced. And to be honest with you, Ned didn't look convinced what he was saying to him either. I think Ned believed him that he had seen the White Walkers.
No, Ned absolutely believed him. And I think you get a feeling that, he's the Lord of Winterfell. You get a feeling like he knows there's truth behind whatever this guy's saying.
Yeah. And Renwood doing the amazing work for us says Jennifer Ehle. I'm not going to mispronounce her name badly. Jennifer Ellie was the original cast for Catelyn Stark. So after that, we cut to a dead moose or a deer or something. I think it was a moose. And Theon says, "Oh, they must be mountain lions that are killing them." And Ned says there are no mountain lions in these woods. They look on and they find puppies. They find 5 little dire wolf puppies. And Theon also screams, "Freaks!"
Well, no, they don't just see the puppies. They see the dead mother.
Dead mother and the puppies.
This is interesting. It's interesting to note that it's a huge stag.
Yeah.
Let's just put that right now. It's a huge stag.
It's a huge fucking. Yep.
This is just for a little background. This is the house sigils are very important. They say a lot about the families. They say a lot about history and things like this. So when they come down off the path a little, Eddard sees, something obviously off the path, and they kind of go down there, and it ends up being a huge wolf, massive. The head is the size of my chest.
Yeah,
it's a big freaking.
A freak. It's a freak.
And there's a part of the stag's antlers sticking out of the dead wolf, the dead dire wolf, and that's when Theon is like, "Freaks! It's a freak! It's a freak wolf. It's got to be."
And Rob's response is to say the obvious, like, I don't believe in no ghosts when there's a ghost in front of him. Rob's like, there's no direwolf south of the
Right,
wall.
because Eddard then says, no, it's not a freak, it's a dire wolf.
And Rob's quick response is, there are no direwolves south of the wall. And somebody, I forget who, said, now there are 5. And
That I think was John.
was it John?
Because he's actually down there grabbing the puppies at that point.
So Bran, being a kid, says, what are we going to do with them? Their mother's dead. And Ned's response is, better they have a quick death.
And Theon jumps at the opportunity to go kill puppies.
Theon could not wait to kill puppies.
He's like, all right, I'll do it. Woohoo!
He was
so grabbing the puppies immediately.
And Rob, noticing that Bran's getting emotional about it, tries to stop him. And Theon's response to him is, I don't take orders from you, I take orders from your father. And Ned doesn't try to stop Theon in that moment. It's Jon that steps in there. And Jon goes, excuse me, Lord Stark. There are 5 pups, 5 Stark kids. It's the sigil of your house. You're meant to have these. They're meant to have these. Ned says, fine, because he looks at Jon almost like, you fucking little asshole, you're right. You're right, I got to keep
And see, that's it. House Stark sigil is the dire wolf. It's a very noble animal. It's feared. It's a legend south of the wall. You know, it's important that these kids should get those puppies. That's a sign. By any means, in any time, that's kind of a sign.
It's also worth mentioning, and Bran says something about this in a second. Ned says, fine, take care of them. You raise them. You feed them. When they die, you bury them, etc.
And you clean up after them. You train them.
And Jon really stepped up. And this gets explained a little bit more in depth in the book. It's just one line here, but it really gets explored a little bit in Jon's chapters in the beginning. Bran says, what about you? And he says, I'm no Stark of Winterfell. And before we get into the last one there, where they explore it a little bit more is that Jon went out on a limb. Jon made himself in a way feel bad to save these puppies and make his brother feel good.
Right. Well, he's not, and like he says, it's not just going out on a limb. It's the truth. He's not Jon Stark. His name is Jon Snow, and we find later exactly what he meant when he says his name is Jon Snow. So I'm going to spoil that scene coming up. His name is Jon Snow, and he's a bastard. He's not one of the 5 kids.
Right.
That's why Catelyn Stark gives him such an awful look.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's also gets a little bit more into it. We get into this later with Jon's character, and we'll explore this as we go with the Jon arc through the series. But Jon really has a mild complex, to say the least, about the bastard thing. So to bring it up in that situation and show himself somewhat dishonor in a way of saying it in any other way showed how much he loves his family. It was just a big show of how much Jon loves Bran. And
all the kids, really, and how he's not a heartless, cruel bastard like Theon, who wants to see 5 puppies slaughtered for the hell of it.
Puppies. I would have killed the puppies. Renwood, I agree with what I'm about to say that you said. Bran is the smartest person in the family. No doubt. No doubt Bran's the smartest one in the family. I would agree with that. Arya's pretty close. Arya's pretty smart too, and Kat is Kat is a pretty smart individual. So there is so Jon really stepped up, and then Bran asks him, what about you? And he says, I'm not a Stark of Winterfell. And they look down and they see one more. Theon, I believe, sees it. And he goes, what's this? And one more, and he hands it to Jon. He goes, it's the runt of the litter. This one's for you, Snow. And Jon grabs the all-white one and looks at him, and just thinks about the obvious Snow, all-white, blah, 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 and looks at him, and who knows what he'll name him? Maybe Ghost. Let's say.
Maybe something like that.
Maybe something like Ghost. So off to King's Landing and bells, because bells at King's Landing always means a good thing, right?
They always mean good things.
Always. Yes. He says this right in his father's face. Yeah. And Jon, I think Ren's talking about Jon Snow, like when he says that when he steps up to save the puppies, he gets right in Ned Stark's face. And I think more than any other of the kids, from what we've seen, Jon's the one that will face off his father, probably the quickest of all the boys. The rest of them will probably succumb to the power of Ned Stark. Jon has that little bit. I ain't afraid, and nobody, not even you, Ned Stark.
Yeah. What do What are you gonna do? Make me sleep in the barn like your wife makes me already?
Yeah, exactly. What are you gonna call me, a bastard? Send me away? Send me to some place that we're gonna find out about in a second here. So we go to King's Landing in Bells, and it means the death of John Arryn. We see his funeral, who was the Hand of the King. And he has these crazy eye things on the dead corpse that makes me feel really uncomfortable. And we also in the background see the Iron Throne for the first time. And we meet none other than Cersei Lannister looking on. And who comes up? My favorite asshole, Jaime Lannister. And but I'm your brother, and I must warn you that you worry too much. It's starting to show, dear sister.
And there's a dead body in front of him.
Yeah, they have the dead bodies. And okay, so
This turns out to be a theme too. Spoiler.
Yeah, I love the spoiler there. He never and we get a story about him which basically symbolizes that Jaime never worries and Cersei always worries. They're the Lannisters of Casterly Rock, sorry. And Cersei says, "What if Jon Arryn told somebody?" And Jaime says, "We don't know what he knew, and if he did tell somebody, if Robert knew the truth, we'd both be dead." This is an interesting point I want to pause on for 1 second. I don't want to dwell on this, but this is another big change. And some purists do like to point out this, so I feel like I want to say this right now. In the books, there's a little bit of a difference in this situation. Jon Arryn isn't the only one that knows this, whatever this mystery is that they're trying to protect that we don't even know. In the books, Stannis Baratheon also knows that. I just want to say that right now as we proceed further. Stannis is helping Jon Arryn in the books investigate whatever this situation is that we'll figure out about. And that just got changed. It's one of the first changes I want to look at on what I call the wussification and the fuck up of TV show Stannis that we're gonna follow.
Yeah, there's a few things.
This is I don't want to get into them. We'll get into them as I would, but this is the first one, Joe.
And so just so you know, he mentioned Stannis Baratheon, who doesn't get introduced, I think, until next season.
No, he's in this season. It's a few episodes down the road. He's definitely in this. I believe he's in this season.
He might be in this season, but if he is, it's small. I want to say he's not, but
we're gonna see as we go. And Ren Redwood says, "Varys, I've always hated the bells. They ring for a horror, a dead king, a city under siege. Tyrion, a wedding."
Right, good things.
Tyrion says a wedding, and Varys says exactly. I love Varys. I'm so glad. Whatever. I'm so glad Varys and Tyrion are together. And their interactions on the show are really awesome. I love when they interact with each other. So to King's Landing and the bells, as we see, Jon Arryn's dead, and Jaime said that if Robert knew what we knew, we would be dead. And Cersei says, "You should be Hand of the King," and Jaime says, "Fuck that. Days are too long, nights are too short."
He doesn't want to be Hand of the King.
Yeah. Robert's not even going to find out about we find out this by the end of the episode, so there's no real spoilers. Robert's not going to find out about us. He's too busy hunting whores and fucking boars. Or is it the other way around?
Yeah, fucking boars and hunting whores.
Yeah, fucking
Making the 7.
Making the 7. So we cut back to Winterfell and Kat as she's bringing Ned this bad news. And he's by an old tree, the old gods. And she says she always feels like an outsider here. And he says, "Listen, you've had all these kids in the north. The old gods must like you. And then your gods are the ones with the rules." They have a kind of a funny moment about the differences that their background, but they just to show that they have a good relationship, even though that they have some differences. And she says, "I'm really sorry, my love, Jon Arryn."
Let's note Eddard's sitting under this huge white tree.
Yep.
Huge white tree. It's for a little background on which we won't ever really get any if we just talk about the seasons, because this stuff isn't.
We're also going to talk about that at some point, that book, and talk a lot about Game of Thrones history. So we'll get into. We're going to do a podcast on just House Stark at some point in time. So let's save that for a specific House Stark podcast.
Right. Well, we should at least just say that these trees are called they're godswoods, weirwoods.
The gods. I'm sorry, it's making me think of the video game for a second. Whatever they call it, the ironwood in the video game.
Yeah, that's a different type of tree.
different type of tree. Rachel, hi Rachel61, welcome to the channel. How did Stannis find out? Totally missed that. In the books, Stannis is investigating the same situation with Jon Arryn.
Right. Jon Arryn is the hand of the king, and Jon Arryn is. We see him dead in this scene with Jaime and Cersei with some coins on his head. He was investigating something, and he was in cahoots with Stannis.
Stannis was helping him. They were working together, and we'll get in as this season goes on. We don't want to get into spoilers for later in the season quite yet, but when it really comes down to it, in the books, Stannis was just with him, and instead, at the moment that the shit hit the fan and Jon Arryn died, Stannis just leaves King's Landing. And you're right, I don't think we might not see Stannis till the beginning of the second season, end of the last episode of this season. I think we see him, actually. And it's because, and they mention it, that Stannis left, but in the books, he leaves King's Landing, and he also isn't there at this period of time. So that's similar. And that's probably part of the reason why the show decided.
Well, the reason he left is he was pissed at Robert Baratheon when Robert Baratheon took over as king. He had to give up one of the 7 kingdoms, which he would have been lord of.
Yeah.
And instead of making Stannis lord of that, he made Stannis lord of this place called Dragonstone, which is a small, almost deserted island, and made his younger brother, Renly, lord of whatever that name of the...
Without getting too far into that, because that could be a whole Baratheon chapter, and it's even more of an insult because Stannis and his army sacrificed themselves for so long to hold the nicer place for Robert just to go, fuck you, Stannis. But okay, so we go back to Winterfell and Kat, and she brought the bad news, and he said that Jon Arryn died and a fever took him. And Ned asks about Kat's sister, who was married to Jon Arryn, and the wife and the boy, and she says they're fine. Yeah, they're fine. The family and the Raven also brought more news. The king is coming with his whole fucking entourage, and they both looked at each other, and Ned said, one thing's for sure, if he's coming all this way up north, you know what he's going to ask for. And Kat says, you can say no, but Ned does not.
You don't tell a king no.
And Ned can't. It's like me. It's like I couldn't tell you no. If you were like, Bill, I really need you to be, my hand to the king. If you were the king, I couldn't say no.
Right, you can't say no.
I can't say no. That's just being a dick. So cut to Kat, who's making all the preparations, and this is our first mention of Tyrion. She says, we need candles for Lord Tyrion. He reads all night. And Master Lowen says, his response is, I hear he drinks all night. How much could a man of his stature drink?
Well, we brought up 8 barrels of ale. We'll find out.
And she said, get candles. So to all the big boys, Theon, Jon, and Rob, they're shaving, talking about how hot the queen is, having the look.
They're getting a haircut. They're at the. It looks like they're in the kitchen, but they're getting sheep sheared.
Yeah, they're getting shaved and cut, and we find out that Jon Snow loves his hair more than any other girls. And this is again, we'll get more into this in a later podcast about their relationship. This is one of few and far between do we get these, and as Ren Renwood knows, watching the video game gives you something that we never got in the shows or the books. Jon and Rob's relationship is really important, and this is one of the only moments that we get Rob fucking with Jon, and that's a bigger point in the books of them loving each other, but fucking with each other a little bit, and especially Rob fucking with Jon because he was better than him at everything, and prettier and better, and always beating him at everything. And this is our one moment.
And Jon is older than Rob.
Right, exactly. And it's just fun because this is one of the only moments that we have with Rob fucking with him, and I love it. I love their interactions. They were too. I hope as we go on in the Game of Thrones, we get a lot more of those, for whatever that's worth. So
I think Jon's older. Is Jon older?
I would assume because of the fact that Ned came back from war to marry.
No, he was already married. He cheated on Caitlyn. That's why.
Had they consummated their marriage yet?
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
So Rob's probably a little bit older.
Or maybe not. Or maybe Caitlyn went through with it anyway. I don't remember. Ren Redwood is going to find out for us.
Ren Renwood also asks, I never understood why King Robert didn't send for Ned to come to him. I mean, that's a good point.
No, because you don't. Did you send for Ned to come to him?
Instead of taking the whole entourage.
No, the reason we find out they're best friends.
Well, no, we're going to get into it in a second. I think the answer to that question lays.
Right, the answer to the question is coming up.
Yeah, the answer to that question lays in the. Well, I'll just straight out say it lays in the crypts. It's because Robert wanted to pay his respects to Liliana. Is that her name, Liliana?
Leia, something like that.
And Renwood says yes by like a month. Yes by like a month. John or Rob is older.
Right. It's close, but
yeah. But someone said so you could say that they're Irish twins. At least at minimum they're Irish twins. So we get to all the big boy shaving, and then we cut to Bran atop of Winterfell, watching as the king's coming down, and we see Bran's amazing climbing skills. I mean, dude, this guy's like Batman, jumping down Winterfell from rock to rock, and then we get a line from Kat that's like just to show how much time's gone by about the wolves. We see the dire wolf much bigger at that point.
Yeah, they're running around on their own. They're not like they're not as small as they were, but
yeah, absolutely. And Ghetto Toad, you're absolutely right. You said because he wanted to see Lyanna's Ned's sister's resting place. So Kat yells at Bran. I said no climbing, but you could tell in her eyes she's almost secretly impressed by how awesome he is. And he keeps going. The king is here. The king is here. A ton of men. She looks at him and goes, "Promise me you'll never do that again. No more climbing." And he says, "Sure," but he does this really bad poker tell first, where he looks down at his feet, and she calls him on it and goes, "Listen, Bran, you're a horrible liar. Every time you look down, you're bluffing. Don't ever play cards with your mother. Your mother always knows your tell."
Well, what kind of foolish woman is she to give that up?
That's true. She should have. I'm sure he has other ones. And this is just a.
You need to become a better liar, Bran.
I also want to say this just as a point of reference. It's a shame that we don't live in a time where we can drug our celebrity kids to keep them kids forever. Because young Bran is so cute. In this episode, especially in this scene where he
definitely loses something over the 5 seasons.
Yeah, but I just wish we could have kept him young with drugs. That's all I'm saying. I miss those days. I'm kidding. I don't miss those days. Poor Emmanuel Lewis. So and Gary Coleman. So she tells him to go tell your father the king is near. So Arya also like Bran.
Did you know that those two are genetically engineered at Tuskegee?
So Arya is also kind of like Bran, who has just the excitement in her and feels like she's special and deserves to see things before people. She kind of puts a helmet on. She cuts in front of Winterfell because she wants to see everyone riding in. She wants to see the soldiers riding in. And she sneaks her way in front, and then she sneaks her way back to get back in line as they're asking about her.
Eddard's looking for her.
And Sansa's like, whatever, I totally don't care about my sister.
She hates her. Oh my god. She keeps telling her to shut up. Will you just shut up?
So Arya shows right back up at the right time, and she's got the helmet on, and Ned's like, what the fuck are you doing with that helmet on? As you see Jon and Robb in the back, just both laughing, loving their little sister. You can tell.
Ned pulls the helmet off, and he hands it backwards to
Is it Jon? Is it Hodor?
What's that?
Is it Hodor? We see Hodor for the first time.
We do see Hodor for the first time, but the guy he hands it to is like his his Castellan, is like second in command kind of guy.
I forget that guy's name, but there was a situation in Robert's Rebellion where Ned was in a fight with, I believe the guy's name was Hightower or something like that, where him and this guy were the only two that survived out of like 12 men versus Sir Arthur Dayne and this guy Hightower in a fight. I believe his name was Hightower. I might be messing up the names. But it was like this guy and Ned. We don't get a lot of history about him, but book history of Ned's number one guy, you're my number one guy, has been through a lot of shit with Ned. Right. He really is Ned's number one guy. And Arya, as she goes back there, she like pushes Bran out of the way. She just like shoves him, like gives him.
I'm here. I'm next. This is my spot.
she gives him the Elaine from Seinfeld push. You know, she's like, "Get out!" and just like
The
pushes
LeBron to his coach.
Yeah, like it's his fault. That's the stab in the back move, Joe. Come on. Bran, get out of the way. You just love Arya. So cut to the king's crew arriving. We see Joffrey the Hound. We see the cart pulling the queen. We see Jaime pulling around, and all of a sudden, through the hills, as we see everyone from Winterfell all getting ready to bow, Robert comes riding in. Now we see
It's nice to say, like, you see a bunch of different outfits. I want to mention that the production-wise, the scene is amazing. All the guys that come in on foot and in on horse are just, they're dressed up really nice. They got good helmets on, really nice white cloaks on some of them. Like it's pretty impressive. The carriage that comes in right before Robert Baratheon is all this big, thick, heavy wood. It's all scroll work and carved nicely. It's really just it's a neat scene. It's a really neat scene.
And Joffrey comes in looking as dickish as ever. I fucking Sansa, which is really great. And Rob doesn't like it.
Oh yeah, he's all dashing. He's on his horse. He prances through, in his red and gold, the Lannister colors.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
So the king comes out as everyone bows, and he's having trouble getting off his horse. And he waddles towards Ned. And Ned looks up at him, almost with a smirk, like, who the fuck is this? And Robert asks him to stand, and Ned goes, your grace. And then he looks at him.
He doesn't even ask him to stand. He just kind of says, come up.
Yep.
He doesn't say anything. He just motions with his hand, and Ned stands up.
And the first thing Robert says to break the ice in reference to Ned,
you're fat.
He goes, you're fat. And Ned kind of just makes motion with his eyes to Robert.
He looks down at his belly.
And Robert breaks the ice in the big laugh that guy has.
And it's worth it to mention that Addy, the actor, is a much larger, stouter man than Bean. I think he even might be an inch or two taller by the look of the scene, or if not eye to eye, you know. And he's much portlier.
We often tout the abilities of Christian Bale and Robert De Niro to change their body shape. I also believe he probably gained 20 or 30 pounds to play Robert Baratheon here, too.
Oh, I think so, too. I absolutely think so.
And you can see Robert, he just embraces, I'm going to use the words from the book, he embraces Kat like a long-lost sister and just grabs her and kisses her, I love you, and he like slaps Rickon across the face, pats him on the belly, good game.
Aren't you a cute little boy?
Good kid. You must be Rob, you're awesome. Bran, you're going to be a soldier one day. And just as all this is happening, Arya mentioned, you see Arya as Cersei starts to slime her way into the scene. Arya goes, and you see Jaime as well. Arya says, where's the imp? And Sansa, as Joe put it, just goes, shut up! Shut up, Arya! So
just shut up.
And then we get Cersei forcing her hand onto Ned to kiss it, being like, and Robert says to Ned, let's go visit the crypts, which Cersei replies, we've been riding a month, and Robert just ignores it, and he says, Ned, let's go.
So I want to point out they've been riding a month. This is the spot they came from on the map, right here where my finger touches, if you can see, and they had to ride all the way up here to Winterfell. It's quite a distance. It takes a month, and I'm sure they were taking their time. It's a big it's the king's caravan, so to speak, but it takes close to a month even if you're on your own traveling it, unless you're, it's quite a distance. It's a huge distance.
And Ghetto Toad says, should have shot Joffrey there and then.
Yeah, and so this is also the answer to the question that was asked, why he didn't have him just send for Ned, because he's asking for him to do something, to change his life, to move, a month's journey away and live in King Landing and be the hand of the king, but also that first thing out of his mouth is, let's go pay respects to your sister down in the crypts.
Absolutely. And you guys in the chat room are awesome. Ghetto Toad, you're funny as hell and great with information. Ren would thank you as well. Yeah, the guy, Ned's master at arms is Roderick Castle.
Right, Roderick Castle. So, this is This is the reason. It's an excuse for the king to go up and visit someone, not just his friend, the guy who helped him win the throne in the first place, single-handed, like really, but also to visit the sister, Ned's sister.
And the queen, as Red Redwood said, it was in a wheelhouse. Like, yeah, basically a house on wheels. It was just like a wheelhouse. And
this is where the book describes that as a much bigger kind of carriage than it ended up appearing on screen, but it was still pretty impressive. And yeah, it's like house size. It's massive.
It's probably just a big bed in there.
Probably just about, yeah.
So we
have
all
a second room for the servants to sit in.
And after all that, the queen, the Arya gang asks, "Where's the imp?" To which Cersei overhears this and gets curious about it too, and goes to Jaime, "Find our brother. Where is that dirty animal?" Or something to that effect. She said. So we cut to Robert and Ned in the tomb talking about Jon Arryn. Robert says 1 minute he was fine, the next minute he was dead, burned right through him, whatever it was. They both say that they loved him. And Robert's like, "I needed him more than you did. At 16, all I wanted to do was fuck women. You didn't need much help. I needed to learn stuff." And Ned looks at his belly and goes, "It's not my fault I didn't listen to the lessons Robert Arryn taught me. He taught me those things. I learned them for a while, anyways. I was out of control. He sorted me out." And it's safe to also say that Robert's out of breath through this whole scene. He's like he can't even walk down the tube.
Right, he's not a fit guy. He's been drinking and whoring for the last 18 years.
Which he admits in a second ago. He stops and he goes, "Listen, Ned, I need you to come to King's Landing. You're no use to anyone rotting away up here in the cold. I'd name you Hand of the King." To which Ned goes down to one knee with the Wayne's World. "I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy."
We know he's not going to say no to him. It's his best friend.
And
the king.
And the king. And he says, "I want you to do my job while I whore my way to an early grave. Stand up. If your sister didn't die, we be family. We were meant to rule together. You helped me win the throne. Now help me keep it."
Yep.
Not too late to put our families together. I have a son. You have a daughter. Let's do this. We are family. Let's do it.
We haven't seen each other in 9 years. It's one of the things he says when he gets off of the. So about since when Bran was born, or just before, or just after Bran was born, was the last time these guys have seen each other.
The Greyjoy Rebellion, for something we'll talk about later. The last time they saw each other was the Greyjoy Rebellion. And when it comes to marrying his daughter, Ned, to that response, Ned looks honored but unsure. So we cut to Jaime, who's looking for, yes, our first shot of Tyrion, who has
he looks so precious. After watching this again, his hair is so blonde. He looks so young.
They actually made his hair blonde. That's one thing that, spoiler alert, they kind of give up on by the end of the series. They just decide to, we don't need to make Tyrion blonde.
Like, this was bleach blonde compared to what it is later in the later episodes where it's gold. This shit was blonde.
Yeah, and it just became Peter Dinklage's natural hair color at this point in the series. Like again, spoiler alert, fast forward to 5 seasons down the road, it's just Peter Dinklage's hair. It doesn't look like it's very as blonde as it is here. It is bleach blonde. And the first shot of Tyrion is him taking a drink.
Cheers.
With this expression on his face, an amazing expression, like as someone is kissing him all over his body, who is our first sign of Roz. It's also our first naked Roz, who it won't be the last, spoiler alert. Talking about that the king's in town, who the Lannisters are here, how she heard Jaime Lannister's so handsome, the most handsome man in the Seven Kingdoms. And he's like, "What about the other brother? There's the pretty brother and the clever one. The imp? Well, Harry doesn't like the imp. They're kind of playing a game." And she breaks out of it that we were expecting you, Lord Tyrion, and we knew you were going to be like, put your flag down in this whorehouse. And she was really nice, and they get ready to get it on, and the door flies open, and it's Jaime saying, "Oh, wait a minute, don't get up, finish your job." You can tell that this isn't the first time Jaime.
Don't you know what a closed door in a whorehouse means, brother?
"I have much to learn from you, no doubt, brother." But he just walks in, pours himself a drink, as you can just see Roz go with the look in her. She doesn't actually say it, but the look in her face, like, wow, he is handsome.
I like the conversation Roz and him were having too before Jaime burst in. She was saying, "Oh, have you heard the little imp monsters come in, and I heard they have this little back and forth where she's pretending she doesn't know that he's the king's uncle. I mean the king's
brother-in-law.
Brother-in-law.
Yeah, it's a cool scene, and it's a good game that they play, and it illustrates why the character of Roz ends up being important in the series, because she's very good with other people. She's a good secondary character.
Right, who's not really in the books long.
No, she's not in the books at all. I mean, it's just random.
Is she not? There's
several someones, but she's completely created for the show.
Okay, all right. I thought there was a specific girl that Theon is even in the books.
No, she's the amalgamation of a bunch of different whores into one.
Okay, all right, sounds good to me.
Yeah, it's one of those things that the show likes to do from the books. They take a couple of characters and they just smack them they squish them together into one character. And Roz is the whore. So
again, there'll be comments. I do claim to have read the books, but I claim to have read them now years ago. So 4 years ago. So
Tyrion,
and all of them back to back to back. So it's hard to remember everything.
Tyrion also yells at Jaime, "Shut the door." So Cersei wants to thank you, Ghetto Toad. So Cersei wants to talk to you, brother. Our sister wants you at this dinner. Don't leave me alone with these people, Jaime says. Tyrion says, "Hey, listen." Paraphrasing. "Hey, listen. I've wanted to get to this whorehouse and have fun all day. This is one of many snacks I'm going to be having for the night, brother." And Jaime
I thought you'd say that. So.
And he just opens the door and 4 girls jump in the party. And Jaime walks out and he goes, "Have fun, see you at dinner." And Tyrion yells, again, "Thank you, Ghetto Toad, shut the door!" And Jaime doesn't, as a good fuck you to his brother to show that they love each other. And a good. I love when brothers have these kind of relationships. And just leaves the door open and walks out. So we go back to Robert and Ned. I hope we get a lot more Jaime and Tyrion scenes. I love these two together. I love seeing the brothers together.
Yep.
So to Robert and Ned in the tomb, lighting a candle, and Robert gets into his hole. "Did you have to bury her in here? She belonged on a hill by a tree or something." And "No, she's in my family. She's my sister. She belonged here." "No, Ned, she belonged with me. And in my dreams, I kill him every night." And and Ned's response is as Robert's kind of cupping the statue of her face, Ned says, "They're gone. All the Targaryens are gone." And he says, "Nope.
Not all of them.
Not all of them." So
That's when we cut over to a gorgeous blonde.
Get to Pantos across the sea and Daenerys Targaryen, our first Daenerys Targaryen moment. She's staring out a window, not looking too happy, looking lost. Oh, I love when Daenerys is lost. I loved lost Daenerys. As we hear a voice yelling, and it's her brother Viserys, and Viserys, and he calls for her, and he goes, "Bride-to-be, you're the bride-to-be." And they kind of show their highbrowness here, both being the son and daughter of the last king, the king that Robert overthrew, the Mad King Aerys. These are Mad King Aerys' last 2 remaining Targaryens. The last living Targaryen.
The heirs to the rightful heirs to the 7 kingdoms.
If you complete the bloodline, if Robert didn't overthrow the usurper Robert, if he didn't overthrow the throne, and when he's talking about he feels like he can kill him every night, he's talking about
Prince Rhaegar, their older brother, Daenerys and Viserys' older brother, Prince Rhaegar,
who he destroyed in this battle, which is considered the Battle of the Trident, which is considered one of the big battles in Robert's rebellion that was basically won the war for Robert in that one moment. In a lot of
he hit him so hard he knocked the emeralds out of his armor.
To which the battle stopped and all the soldiers went jumping after the emeralds.
And to this day, fishermen claim to pull the emeralds out of this river occasionally.
So with the brother and sister here, we get a little bit of backstory about them as they're looking at the fabric. He says they've been guests here for a year, but she says that we've been guests here for a year, but our host never asked for anything. And Viserys says, "He's no fool. When I get my crown, I won't forget him." As he says, "You slouch," as he takes off her dress, and we get naked Dany, and he goes, "You have a woman's body now," as he's cuffing her.
Soft, supple. Let me caress my sister's body.
Yes, don't slouch. I need you to be perfect today. You don't want to awake the dragon, do you? And she
And he's
says,
just staring straight at her tits,
and it's
not even looking anywhere else.
it's fair to mention that if we and again we'll get more into the Targaryens in the Targaryen only podcast we talk. Targaryen brothers and sisters have wed for centuries. For it, it's just something that's normal in the Targaryen family.
Yeah,
For whatever that's worth.
it's normal for the Targaryen family, but it's not so normal for the rest of the kingdom.
Right, but for the Targaryens, it's almost considered acceptable because of something.
Their lineage is from a different place. They come from old Valyria.
And we'll get more into that later with some other issues that come into line with Daenerys as we go on Daenerys' story. So, so we cut to naked Dany right here at this point. We're still in naked Dany, who goes into this burning hot bath, as the Iron Maiden says, as her maiden says, it's too hot, as she just goes in and doesn't seem to mind going into the boiling hot water. So to the both of them waiting outside with their host.
Yeah, and that's an interesting side note to just keep an eye on. That the water is very obviously steaming hot.
We don't have to dwell on that. Let's just make note of that.
Well, we should make note that the water is steaming hot, and all the windows in this place are open. She wasn't dressed for winter clothing. It's a very warm place. Viserys takes her clothes off. They drop to the floor. She's not shivering. She's not like, oh my God, it's cold. And then she just walks into this steaming hot tub. To the maid goes, oh my God, don't do that. It's.
And she's just no reaction, just very no reaction. So
her stare is completely blank. She's very deep in thought.
So we're outside with the three of them, the host and the brother and sister, waiting for. We find out that they're waiting for the Dothraki. He goes, where are the Dothraki?
For her betrothal. For her betrothed.
To see if the person that they're offering her to wants to marry her. And our host says the Dothraki aren't known to be punctual. And Viserys is like, don't they know I'm king? Okay, it sounds like Simba at the beginning of the Iron King, like the Lion King. Oh, I'm the king. I'm gonna be the king one day. So we cut to the Dothrakis riding up, and Daenerys is presented towards as a gift to the leader. This is the first time we meet Khal Drogo. Drogo.
Khal Drogo. Yep.
Drogo. And the Khal.
Khl. It's a title, like
title.
Tsar or King or Chief.
Carl. I'm gonna call him Carl Sagan. No,
Carl Grimes.
Carl Grimes. Yeah, Carl. So we get a little bit of backstory on him with Viserys talking to Dany and saying that he's one of the finest killers alive.
Why do you from Boston have such a hard time saying Carl?
Carl.
Yeah, it's Carl. It's like you would say Carl.
Because I'm pronouncing the word Carl. I should, because I try not to pronounce my ahs too bad like that. If I stop and do it for a second, it just comes out all the time. So Dany walks up scared to Drogo and to be presented to him. And
is this too is where before she walks up, he says to her, "You see his ponytail? You see how long that is?" And it was down to his ass easily, and it's big and thick. It's, stretches all the way down his back. He says they grow their hair, and when they're defeated in battle, they cut off their enemy's ponytail. He has never lost in battle. That's why his hair is that long.
Ghetto Toad would like to point out that the Daenerys naked scene, Joe paid a little bit too much attention to that.
No,
scene.
Joe did not pay enough attention to that scene. Joe's gonna wait till Katie's asleep and go watch that scene again. Pay even more attention.
So Dany walks up.
I'm just kidding, sweetie.
Dany walks
I've
up.
done that. I mean,
Dany walks up.
Couldn't do that.
Danny walks up to Drogo and looks at her and kind of smiles and then just rides off. And Viserys is like, "Oh wait, did he like her or not?" And the host guy, I forget this guy's name. I keep calling him host because I actually do not know his name. Says he asks him, "Did he like her?" And he goes, "Trust me, we would have known if he didn't like her. Because if he didn't like her, he probably would have killed us all. He probably just would have killed all of us He was like,
And
I
see,
don't.
I got to say this too. So they're marrying this chick off. Now, when you look, they're what in Pentos, and there's King's Landing, right? So why these two are heirs to this entire kingdom? Why is he not like Robert Baratheon's so worried about him? Why aren't they already dead? They're not that far away. They're a short boat's ride away. You know, like this is the thing that's always kind of bugged me. How long have they been in Pentos for? 18 years?
18 years is what they say. I believe that's what they said. 18 years.
You know, that's like across the bay. These rumors of it like that little part right there bugged me. And then obviously this is going to be a big thing. Khal Drogo's army has 100,000 men in it. It's what they're not. People aren't talking, you know, oh, we're marrying Viserys, who's running around, I'm king, I'm the fucking man, they're living in this fucking mansion. Like, everybody would know that these two are there. This wouldn't be a big secret with that dick Viserys running around.
Like, spoiler alert, it's like Michael Corleone in Godfather when he goes away after whatever he does to go away, everyone knows where their enemies are. And you find out a little bit later that Robert might have a clue where these people are anyways, and he's just chosen not to kill them yet for some whatever reason. But who knows? We may find out more about that as time goes on. But we do cut back over to the series talking about just hearing more about how the information that he's getting about his people crying for him, missing their king, calling Robert the usurper. He asks when they'll be married. He asks if the Dothraki lay with their horses, to which he responds, "Don't ask Khal Drogo that."
Yeah, don't say that to him.
Don't say that. He goes, "I wouldn't say that. You take me for a fool? No, I take you for a king." Excuse me, some kings lack the social graces.
Yep, and he knows that this guy lacks social graces too. He knows Viserys. He's been looking after him for these many years, you know.
God bless you, Ren Redwood. His name is, and I'm gonna mess, Ilario Mopetus. I believe I pronounced that. But I'm gonna call him.
I think he's like the governor of Pentos or something close to that. If there was not really the governor, but he's a very rich, powerful man there, a magister or something like that.
And Danny is kind of interrupting them and being like, but wait, I don't want to marry him. And which gets
this is one of the best lines, Viserys' best lines. Yeah, I would let all of Khal Drogo's men fuck you to get my throne back.
How many? 40,000 men. I would let 40,000 men fuck you to get back home. And then he kisses her. It's just such an evil move. I would let 40,000 men fucking fuck you just to get my throne back. Dear sister.
Be a good girl. You don't want to upset the dragon now, do you?
Yep. Speaking of... and
he's very obviously talking about himself as being the dragon. What a little fucking dink. If he wasn't the king, he'd have been stabbed and gutted and left for dead years ago. And he's not even the king. And this is why, one thing I don't understand is whoever is harboring these two didn't completely pampered and spoiled. I know he's old enough to kind of remember the stories his older brother told them, but still, to have this kind of attitude, knowing that you've been exiled from your homeland, that you're kind of on the run.
So.
What an attitude to have.
So very interesting that from this moment we cut over to Sansa with Catelyn being like, Daddy needs to take the job. I'm paraphrasing. Daddy needs to take the job as Hand of the King because then I'll be married to Joffrey and I'll be queen, and that's the only thing I've ever wanted in the world, to be the queen.
Is that one of the things they talk about in the crypts? Does he mention that, Ned?
What was that?
Joffrey and
we talked about that. Yeah, we talked about that, and I don't care. Basically, I don't care, Mom, if you're left alone here. I want to be queen, Mommy. Please, Daddy. I want to be like Veruca Salt and Willy Wonka. Daddy, I want to be queen.
Yeah, she doesn't know. Yeah. She knows nothing about Joffrey. All she knows is that he's prince.
Rachel 61. Viserys is an arse, and yes, he's a big time arse. And Ren Renwood says about Ilario, he is the Magister of Pentos.
Yeah.
The Magister.
So,
Thank you, Ren Renwood, for all this information tonight. You were
yeah,
fucking on it. You were fucking on it. So they're all celebrating after this and drinking, having fun. We see Robert kind of whoring it up right in front of the Queen, totally embarrassing her in front of Kat. It's like whoring her like in the whole room in front of everybody, and the Queen's just sitting there like, marvelous, great country we're living in here. But that's in a moment, because right after that moment, we cut over to Jon Snow out back beating the shit out of some targets, and we meet Uncle Benjen of the Night's Watch.
he comes riding in all black, so we know he's like one of those three guys that we saw in the opening scene. He's from the Wall.
Asking why Jon is not in there, and he says, "Lady," and this is our second clue or piece of information about Jon and Lady Stark. He says, "Lady Stark suggested that there's no bastards for the king," and Benjen says, "Well, bastards are always welcome on the Wall," which Jon says, Take me with
you.
Ask Father to let me go with you. He'll say yes. And he says, there'll be time for that. You need to make the decision whether you want to start a family. Jon says,
You don't know what you're giving up. We take no wives. We father no children.
Yeah,
Jon's like, I don't give a shit. I live in hell with this woman. Get me the fuck out of here.
And but he goes, you have plenty of time. The Wall's not going anywhere.
I'm not even allowed into dinner. I'm like a shame of Winterfell.
Yeah, and then Benjen says, I got to go rescue your dad from his guests. Let me go in. As we get one of my favorite scenes.
Which I got to say is kind of bullshit. Was he in the lineup outside in the courtyard?
Yes.
Was he in the back or was he in the front with the rest of the kids?
He was in the second line and back, I believe.
Okay, so he's allowed to meet them all out in the courtyard, but he can't go in and have dinner and drink with them all.
No, because she's a douchebag.
Right.
Because she looks for any excuse to be a douchebag to Jon.
To Jon Stark, right.
You keep calling him Jon Stark, Jon Snow.
Jon Snow, sorry.
You're thinking of the 90s basketball player from the New York Knicks.
I am.
So as Tyrion...
They look so much alike.
They do, they're the same person. I think they're both on the wall. So as Tyrion interrupts him, it goes, oh, wow, your uncle... Tyrion was kind of laying in the wings. And he says, oh, your uncle's in the Night's Watch. I've always wanted to see the Wall. And this is one of the most... This scene's so fun because... I'm not even going to get into what Tyrion says, but basically everything Tyrion says to him, he ends the sentence with bastard. He goes, yeah, so your uncle is is a Night's Watchman on the Wall, bastard. Yeah, and it's just... What, you're offended that I call you bastard? Well, you are a bastard. You know, your dad fucked another woman that isn't your wife when you're born, so, i.e. a bastard.
I love it. I love every single exchange Tyrion has in this episode is amazing. And you get the feeling like he's not going to talk to anybody other than how he wants to talk to them. Absolutely. He has nothing to lose. He's an imp, he's a joke. And he says it right here. He's like, Jon says to him, you keep calling me a bastard. Yeah, it's insulting. You don't know what it's like to be a bastard. You have no idea. And he says, hey, all dwarves are bastards in their father's eyes.
Yeah, absolutely. Great line. And Jon cuts him, and Jon looks at him with understanding, and Tyrion walks off. He gives him advice. Wear it like a badge of honor so no one can ever hurt you with it. And great piece of advice. And Peter Dinklage just hits the ground running. As Tyrion, he just runs straight ahead into Tyrion. There's no element of him getting the character. He gets the character from beginning to end, and just...
Yep, and you get the feeling Tyrion's a bit of an asshole, but he's actually being kind of straight up and honest with him, and he's actually so charming. He's trying to befriend him.
He's trying to help.
He's not trying to be an asshole. He's a charming little asshole. He's trying to befriend him, and he's trying to be open with him. And hey, let's not. There's no pretense here, kid.
So he's just trying to help him. And we go to Ned and Benjen, and Ned asking about the deserter from the beginning. He says, "Did you know him?" And he said, "Yeah, he was a boy, but he was tough, a real ranger." Ned says he was talking madness about the White Walkers, which Benjen says, "I don't know. There's 6 dire wolves south of the Wall, other reports of the White Walkers, and my brother Ned's going to be the hand of the king. The whole world's gone crazy. Who knows?" And then they both look at each other and smile and say together, "And winter is coming." And they almost find a joy in it. You can see the Stark relationship, the love that they have.
And that's the motto that goes along with their sigil. It's the dire wolf, and then winter is coming. That's the house-like phrase, the saying. And all the houses have them, and it's a big theme, you know. I can't remember most of them, but they all have them. They're all pretty cool. Well, they're mostly pretty cool.
We'll get into it in a few episodes. A little bit of a spoiler alert. Before the end of season 1, there is an episode where where we'll learn a lot more about the house names when someone's teaching someone in a class.
Yeah, we get some of that.
We do get some of that. And Rachel61 says, I agree, great lines from Tyrion. Yeah, that whole scene with Tyrion, that was Tyrion's best thing in the whole entire episode. And one of
I
his,
disagree. I liked his O-face.
You like his O face? You like the orgasm Tyrion face that starts the episode? Wait, do it again.
Any scene that's got tits in it is going to be that actor's best scene.
Yeah.
Can I just say that now?
Okay, I won't necessarily argue with you because of future events. Anyway, so we go to Cersei and Kat talking again, making small talk. This is when she says about how lovely the North is, and Sansa kind of uses this as an opportunity to go over and meet Cersei. And Cersei immediately, again, talking about hitting the ground running, starts in on her harassment, calling her a little dove, saying she's tall for 13. Goes the simple question. She's like, oh, this is normal. Oh, you're still growing. Have you bled? No.
Yeah, yeah, straight out. Have you bled yet?
But it's so fun how she just keeps going, and then she goes, no. Okay. Oh, pretty dress. Did you make that dress? Oh, you'd have to make me something like that. It's just she just doesn't.
Oh, she's so cruel to her. She's so cruel to her. Like she basically just picks her apart in that like high school popular girl kind of way that Cersei has honed to a T. You know, she's the queen of the court. She's got all these little girls running around after her.
Yeah, she mean girls it up. She totally mean girls.
Oh, big time mean girls it up. Oh yeah.
And then she mean girls Catelyn right here. And she goes, "Your daughter's a beauty. She'll do well in King's Landing. She should not be hiding up here." And
right.
Cat just doesn't look happy. Cat's like, "You fucking cunt."
Yeah, she basically says we're gonna whore your daughter all around court.
You know what your daughter's gonna get into. You're not gonna recognize your daughter. And if anyone read the news this week about the first George R.R. Martin's original plan for the series, you can see a lot of that set up right now for his original plans for what Sansa is gonna do. So we get this is where we also get our first Jaime and Ned. I think on this rewatch, the Lannisters stole the show with this episode when it comes down to it. Jaime gets in Ned's face and just goes and asks, "Oh, if you come to, it's great to have you in King's Landing. It's getting a little boring there. You'll have to fight in the tournament." And Ned goes, "No, I don't fight in tournaments." And he goes, "Oh, you're getting a little old?" No. If I fight a man for real, I don't want them to see how I fight.
Right. I'm not going to fight anyone fight someone for fake to give them practice to fight me in real life. I never know who I'm going to have to fight, so I don't do tournaments.
Yep. And Jaime says, "Well said," as he's totally like touche, Ned Stark, whatever. As we see Arya causing.
You could tell there's definitely a little animosity there, and he's basically saying, "No, because if I ever have to fucking kill you,
yeah,
I don't want you to know how I'm going to fucking do it."
And we'll get more into that later, their history. That comes up later. So as we see Arya causing a ruckus, Robb escorts her out. So, and this is one of the, we don't get much of this, and it's a really good scene that we get right here with Ned and Cat in bed, getting a little bit of pillow talk between the two of them, trying to figure out a way out of Ned becoming the hand of the king, taking the job. And Kat, who's just hilarious, again, she's an amazing acting job by Michelle Farley here. She's awesome. And she just says, "Listen, I'll tell that fat." She knows how to do humor and intent so well. She knows how to bring it back, and so she's not always all Shakespeare, and strong and stuff. So she just goes, "I'll say, listen, fat man, you're not taking my husband." How the hell did he get so fat? And Ned, first time Ned's funny, says, "Oh yes, he only stops eating to drink."
Yep.
It's just or I forget, maybe Ned says, "How did he get so fat?" And Cat responds, "He only stops eating to drink," because it seems more like a Cat line. It's just a great line. So Master Lewin busts in with a rider the night brought a message, and it's from the Eyrie, from Liza, Cat's sister, John Arryn's widow. Cat reads it and burns it quick. Liza says she fled the capital, John Arryn was murdered, and she thinks that the Lannisters are behind it somehow. Ned says, "What?" And the three, like, it can't be. And the three of them talk about how it makes sense and that how the Lannisters must be involved somehow, as Kat says. I have no doubt the Lannisters are involved somehow. But Ned, you can't get involved. Now you can't go to King's Landing.
Right
And
now, you definitely can't go.
and this sets up a really cool angel devil.
And then Ned's like, well, if that's the case, I have to go.
Right,
Then
no,
my
Ned does
best friend's in trouble.
say that. Master Lewin steps up as an angel devil thing on Ned's shoulder, but of looking at Ned and what you said, Ned knew exactly that. He only said to Ned what Ned knew, and looks at him and goes, "You need to go." And
that's what Master Llewellyn knows, that if it'll come off as actual words of wisdom and not as, bravado if it's him that says it, instead of making Sean Bean say it to his wife.
Exactly. And Catelyn, we've been saying this a lot tonight. Catelyn goes there by saying to Ned, your brother and your father went on a mission to King's Landing once, went on a King's mission to King's Landing. How did that turn out for them?
Yeah,
and
when the Starks travel south of the frickin' twins, you die. Don't go.
And both his father and brother were killed in King's Landing by the Mad King before Robert was able to overthrow it with stuff we'll get into on a later date, a whole bunch of backstory to that. But so Catelyn's really going deep. She's digging deep in Ned. She's trying to hurt him there.
She does not want him to go. If he goes, she's losing her husband. She's losing Sansa, because Sansa's going to want to go to court and be with Joffrey. She's losing, she's losing out when he goes. A lot of,
But you get the feeling after this scene, and you just know that Ned has to go, and he's going.
He has to. He had to go. As soon as that raven showed up and said the king was coming, he knew he was leaving.
I know you've been waiting for this scene, Joe. We go to the wedding of Drogo and Dany, and gifts are being brought, snakes, brains, fun stuff, women being raped. Viserys...
They're not being raped. Those women are having a good time.
Viserys is talking to Ilario, and he's talking about how he wants to get the throne back, and he doesn't want to wait for Drogo for the fates to be correct. He wants to go now. And he waited most of his life for the throne, and he doesn't want to wait anymore.
So basically, to set it up too, it's Khal Drogo and Daenerys are sitting up on like a platform with stairs in front of them, and there's this big circle of people partying around them with a big open pit where, there's like grinding kind of dancing and maybe even just straight up sex going on in front of them. There are different warriors jumping into the circle and throwing the other warriors out so they can sex up the women. And as this is going on, Viserys and the Magister are sitting off in that circle, off to the edge, looking at Daenerys and Khal. And as all this is going on, different times people are walking up and presenting gifts to Daenerys on her wedding day.
Before we get into the whole gifts thing, though, we do see Dothraki killing each other, and we get the line that a Dothraki wedding without 3 deaths is considered a dull affair.
Right, because as one of them pulls one off to get at the girl, the other one is like, no way, this is my girl, and they just start fighting each other until one of them completely guts and his intestines fall out in front of us.
And Ren Redwood says they were sex slaves, so just another day on the job for them. So this is where Joe set it up perfect. This is where we meet Jorah Mormont. Shows up with a gift for the new Khaleesi, as she says. She asks, "Oh, are you from my country?" And he says, "Yes, I'm Jorah Mormont from Bear Island, and I serve the true king." As he looks over to Viserys in the distance.
Right, he hands her a stack of books, stories from the Old Kingdom.
And then someone else brings over gifts, and this is where we get into it, Ghetto Toad, the eggs from the Shadow...
I think the Magister is the one who brings over the eggs, the Magister himself.
From the Shadowland behind the Shy, is what he says, I believe. Not alive, but always beautiful. So Danny's kind of looking at Jorah, and Drogo comes over and leads Dany over and leads her over to a white horse, which he picks her up and tries to say thank you. She tries to get Jorah to translate the word thank you in Dothraki, which there's no word for thank you in Dothraki. And he lifts her up and puts her on the horse, and he takes her off onto a hill for some... No.
It's not just a hill. It's the most uncomfortable place in the world to have sex. It's like the rocky cliffs of the shore. Like, this is straight up jagged rock.
Yep, and it's to consummate that marriage. That's what they needed to do.
And he kind of just turns her, like, she's really nervous and skeptical, and he's kind of walking around in circles, looking her up and down, and they both know what's about to happen, and he starts to pull her top off, and she's like, no. And she starts crying, and he circles around behind her and, like, pulls her top down and then bends her over in front of him. And that's when, and that was basically, that was your rape going on right there. She didn't want to get married to him. She didn't want to make love to him right then. She was doing her duty like she was supposed to. She was sold off to this guy. And she is absolutely crushed and destroyed at this moment. Very sad.
Very sad. It is a sad moment, and that's the last we see of Daenerys for the night. And we go to the Hound and Tyrion, and I forgot about this scene when I rewatch or leading into it. I forgot that they had a scene together, and they're talking about how rough of a night it was, and he says, and Tyrion says, well, if I get away with this whole trip without being itchy from head to toe, I'd be surprised. And the Hound goes back at him, and he goes, oh, I didn't know you were a hunter. And Tyrion says, my spear never misses.
Yeah.
And the Hound says, well, I guess it's not hunting if you have to pay for your prey. And it's just a fun back and forth between the two of them, and you see how they a good interaction between them. So we get to Theon getting Ned's sword together for a hunt with the king. The king says, King and Ned kind of fuck with each other because I hope you're as good with the spear as you used to be. And then Ned says, I'm still better than you, and they're shit talking each other. And Robert says, I thank you for coming with me. We find out that he agreed to Ned officially agreed to come with Robert. He says, thank you for saying yes. You're my last real friend. You're the only person that will tell me the truth. And you know what? I'm gonna help you smile more, and I need you, and you're going to help me keep my throne and keep my business in order. It's going to be a great situation. It's going to be nothing but good things for you.
Yep.
And they all go off to hunt in a big group. So we go over to young Bran climbing a tower.
Who says bye to everybody, and he runs off with his dog.
With his
dire wolf puppy. Sorry.
Dire wolf puppy. Yeah. It's
who's about knee height now.
Yeah, who's about the size of a dog. That's what I was going to say. He's about the size of a dog right now. So Bran climbs up the tower to watch them leave. And in the distance, he can kind of, out of his earshot, hear a woman moaning or something.
He's pretty high up in the tower, too, and he starts to hear. We definitely hear, as an audience, being adults watching HBO, people fucking.
Yeah, we hear
He doesn't know what the hell he hears as he's gripping onto. And the tower that he's climbing is an old, burnt-out, dead tower that nobody goes in. It's a very dangerous place. That's why Caitlyn doesn't want, aside from he's climbing, no harness, no ropes, no nothing. He's free climbing the outside of a castle tower, which is very dangerous. This tower is also a ruins as well. Mm-hmm. This is an old tower from the old castle that was built thousands of years ago that's kind of crumbling. They just haven't taken the tower down. And he's pretty high up in it.
So he climbs up and he peeks in a window. He
climbs around the side, so he starts moving laterally around the side of the tower, and he comes to a window and he looks in.
And wait, we see Jaime Lannister doing someone from behind, but we don't know who it is yet. And he picks her up
there's only one other blonde that we've seen.
Yeah, we don't know it's her quite yet.
And it's not Tyrion, that's for sure.
And it's Cersei, it's his sister. Wow.
It's his twin sister, and he's dogging her right from behind.
So could you believe that? He's having sex with his sister.
Yeah.
Oh my God. It's horrible. What
and that's when she notices Bran peeking at them. Fucking.
What kind of people are these Lannisters? Oh my God.
They're the Targaryen kind of people. They're rulers. Rulers of kingdoms.
So she sees Bran and she says, "Stop! Wait!" And as Bran tries to start to get away, but Jaime's too quick and he kind of grabs him and pulls him in the room. And he says, "Are you mad?" to the kid, And Cersei goes, he saw us, and she just keeps saying, he saw us, he saw us.
She keeps screaming it. He saw us. He saw us.
Heard you the first time. Heard you the first time, Jamie responds. And
He's
he goes,
just kind of like, chill out, Cersei. He's just a boy.
you're quite
He's
the
like, it's okay, kid, and he like pulls him into the window a little bit. It's all right, don't worry.
You're quite the little climber. How old are you? 10? 10? Oh, that's nice. He looks back at Cersei, and he smiles at her, and he says, 10, huh? And he goes, the things I do for love.
Poof!
Poof! Pushes him.
Pushes him right out the window, and he just falls.
And he smiles back to her and walks back. The big question after that, Joe, does he go back and finish?
Oh, yeah.
Of course.
Well, does she let him?
Yeah.
Of course. He just threw a kid out a window for him.
Yeah, that's some good. I mean, that's some like you just murdered a 10-year-old sex with your.
I don't know. I don't know if they finished. They got to get the hell out of there pretty quickly, or
Yeah.
do they wait until the commotion dies down?
I don't know. That's a good question. I wonder about that. I've wondered about that. I'm horrible. That's something that's stuck in my mind. And that is the end of our first episode. Of the Game of Thrones.
Before it ends, it just goes black. You kind of see a falling shot maybe, but you don't see Bran, and then it just kind of goes black, right?
Gosh, yeah, and then we get our credits come up, and that, folks, is our first episode of Game of Thrones. Wow, what a first episode! The pilot episode grabs you right from the beginning. I got to see what happens in this situation. They killed this kid. He's dead. He must be dead.
They killed. Winter's coming, my man. Pretty much they essentially they dropped a couple of bombs. They gave us some incest, and then they killed a little kid right off the bat.
What's going on here, dude? What kind of show are we watching here?
He couldn't hit the target with his bow. Not sure it's a big loss. But now what do they do with the dire wolf? Who's going to clean up after it?
Oh my gosh! Yeah, it's very true. I wonder if he landed on the dire wolf.
Broke its fall.
Oh, maybe he survived because maybe the dire wolf saved him.
Oh my goodness.
Ned did say if it dies, he has to bury it, so that would solve two things in one: so you die and bury the wolf all one shot. Oh gosh! Happy Valentine's Day, honey. It was a Valentine's. Jamie says that's Ren Wood. And Ghetto Toad says next episode, a little preview, Imp Slap. So that's a preview for next time, folks. So we're gonna wrap this up, folks. Thank you so much for checking out our first episode recap of the Game of Thrones. We'll be back as soon as possible for episode 2 next week. This coming week stretch is going to be busy, but we'll be back somewhere towards the end half of the week. Maybe try to do Friday, because tomorrow is going to be a huge day. The Walking Dead is back with the Walking Dead recap. We'll be recapping The Walking Dead right after the episode. And then on Monday evening, we will be doing an official Better Call Saul 2-night series premiere recap. I may potentially go on at very late at night and do a very quick response to the first episode of Better Call Saul, but I'll talk more about that tomorrow night. But we'll at least be doing a show both on Sunday night this week and on Monday night. Sunday for The Walking Dead and Monday night for Better Call Saul. Sunday's night show will be at around 10:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and the Better Call Saul episode on Monday night will not be until around 11:15 in the evening because Better Call Saul is from 10 to 11. So we'll be back 2 times the next week, and then we'll be back either Friday or maybe next Saturday, one of the 2 days, for our for our Game of Thrones episode 2. So you'll see us a lot more. So everybody have a good night, a great rest of the weekend, and we will talk to everybody tomorrow.
Have a good night.
Later. Winter's coming. Winter's here, Joe. It's about to snow for 3 days straight here in Boston.
I can't wait.
It's going to be fun.
I can't wait to go break my back in the snow again.
Oh, God. Good night, everyone.